Hello everybody, welcome along. I've got Peter Wilson here with me today on Passion 80s, and we're going to be discussing a little bit about his career and what's coming up with Peter, and yeah, we'll just talk about it. He's a local boy, a Melbourne boy.
I am.
He's obviously a bit of a fan with Stock Aitken and Waterman, huge Italo fan. We've just been spending a bit of time looking at some vinyl.
Discovering everything.
Absolutely. Peter, welcome along.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me.
Tell me.
Tell me a little bit about your past, your Italo past. How did you get into the 80s music? Yeah.
Well, I think from an early age I loved music. Ever since I can remember, I was like 3 years old. My earliest memory was my parents bought me an Abattoir single for Christmas. And then I was always attracted to pop music without guitars, with synths when they became the thing. I just became obsessed with them at a very early age. I think my earliest memory was loving like Donna Summer as a kid. Even as about I think 4 or 5 years old. At 5 years old, I heard an Amanda Lear track, Queen of Chinatown, on the radio, and so that synth stuff, that all those crazy sequences and synthesizers, I didn't know what they were called, but I knew that I loved those sounds. Then Irene Cara came along, Sylvester, 82, 83. Coup d'etat, 84.
New Zealand band.
Yeah. And then in 84, I was home sick one day from school, and I had chicken pox actually. And just on a Friday afternoon, I was flicking through the radio stations, and I remember, I've got a thing with numbers, I remember it was 2 in the afternoon, and I remember flicking through and heard Lucky Star, Madonna, a 12-inch version that I'd never heard because that wasn't released here on 12-inch. Press record on the stereo that I had, listened to the end of it. I wanted them to tell me where this was. They told me Central Station Records, Gaslight Records. I heard those things for the first time. Then they said there's a show on tonight called the Pulsation Club Show. It's going to have all these kinds of songs. So immediately I listened to that. Discovered the Flirts, Voulez-Vous. To this day it's my favourite Flirt song. They know, when I toured with them, I told them this, they performed it for me, they know this. Heard the next week they said we're going to do a show, like a special show, so I bought my blank cassettes at Target. I remember doing that. Then I heard the next week was Another Boy in Town, Two Girls, Fancy's Bolero, which to this day, that was my introduction to Fancy. To this day it's my favourite Fancy song, he knows that. When I met him I told him how much I love the song. PJ Marcus, For Your Sweet Information, Modern Talking, Jackie Ross. So that was my early beginning of Hi-NRG and Italo.
Fantastic. Wow. What more can I say? I think me and Peter have got a very, very similar sort of past.
You do.
We're very similarly aged. Obviously, he's a singer and I'm just a promoter, and I'm glad I brought Tess, who's Fancy, out last year, and I got to know Tess quite well. Really, really insightful sort of person. Music to die for. I remember listening to 3RRR, very, very similar to Peter. With Alan Rados, his name was, and to this day, I still speak to Alan this day and age, and I'm forever
worship him. Alan, hello. I loved meeting you, and hello.
Yes, and then there was another show called Dance Till Dawn with Paul Marinelli. Again, Paul, fantastic, really got me involved with all this Italo, Hi-NRG, commercial dance stuff, and to this day, I still love it, and I'm trying to push it in with today's music. The best thing about Peter is he's still obviously promoting, putting the new stuff out, and keeping that music alive. But I think that's important for the younger generations, and hopefully we can push it along and make it a little bit more recognisable out there in the marketplace.
And I've got to say, Paul Marinelli produced my first ever demo.
Wow, Paul, excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Long time, when I was 17, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's didn't know that. Isn't that fantastic? Other than that, Peter, I noticed you had a couple of songs recently. My favourite track of Peter, I've told him this already, Shadows of the Night, is just an absolute classic track.
I love it.
And there's something about it, it's majestic. Giorgio Moroder was the first early 80s, perhaps you can correct me.
He wrote that in 91. And it
91?
Was, no, 90 actually, and it was written and produced for Sabrina.
Okay.
And her version ended up being a single, wasn't a hit, and it was on her third album, I think it was.
Yep.
Third album.
Yep.
I always loved the track, and there was an amazing, on the album version, it's got this amazing guitar solo that reminded me of Never Ending Story.
Yep.
Always loved the song, and I had this idea when I had commissioned, my label commissioned Italo Connection to produce for me. It was originally going to be 2 tracks, and I had the idea to do that. Mm-hmm. So I gave the idea to Fred and Paolo, and initially when I saw when I was touring with Fred in Melbourne, he said initially we weren't too sure about it because it might come across as cheesy, but he was so happy with how the final product ended up being, and so was I. And we loved it so much that they put it on vinyl, and it's my first overseas 12-inch release, and it's one of my favourite recordings. I love it so much.
So do I. Love it, love it, love it. Obviously now you've got a new album coming up. Mm-hmm. Enlighten us a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so it's called The Passion of the Flame, and it's out on July 6th. I'd worked with Italo Connection on the previous album. One of my favourite songs I've ever recorded is Hold You Tight, which I did with them. Yep. And ended up being 4 tracks with them, and as opposed to 2, we enjoyed it so much. So we went and worked with them again on 4 great tracks. 2 of them are co-written by Mirko Hirsch. Love Mirko, and if you're watching Mirko,
Mirko, how are you, brother?
Hello.
Keeping it alive, mate.
Yeah, so one of the tracks as well was written by...
Have you got fire?
Fire, I love Fire. Ian Kerno wrote a song that Italo Connection produced. Then I co-wrote one as well.
Yep.
And then we worked with Matt Pop, who I always work with, which we've done 5 tracks together. One is a cover of Eurovision song from 2017 called Verona.
Verona. Okay.
Did that as a duet with a guy called Sean Smith. And Sean, I'm hoping you're watching. Hello. So that's the fans seem to love that, and they're coming back saying they really love the track. So that was great. He was on a guy and contestant on the X Factor 5 years ago. Did really well. Came 3rd with his group. Same difference. So that was good. Worked with Pete Hammond again. When I was in London last year, recorded 2 tracks with him. I wrote one, and then one was written by Stock Aitken Waterman. Yep. Unreleased track, which I have the privilege of being the first to release, which is cool.
Okay.
And then the big thing that I really have you to thank for this is that I've done a track with Fancy.
Wow. Woohoo!
So when he came out and toured last year, you so kindly invited me to come along to the pre-gig dinner, and I met him and had a few hours with him. The stories, he was such a big and amazing character, and we just hit it off straight away. I handed him a copy of my first album, Follow Me, which had included a couple of covers of his, and he came through you. He asked to make contact with me, and he told me that he loved what I did, and I couldn't believe that my favourite, him and Fred Ventura are my 2 favourite male singers. Yeah. So to have them both on this album is incredible, but for him to say, I want to work with you, which he did in July, he sort of approached me with the idea of doing something. Yep. Said, oh my God, let me write something, and I wrote it with a guy called Retro Hitz in Sweden, and we wrote a great track together. Then Fancy agreed to provide some spoken vocals, and I'm in love with it. And and I can say this is there's going to be an Italo Connection remix.
Whoa! Exclusive.
Yes.
There you go.
So it's one of my proudest moments ever. So the album has all of my favourite people. Italo Connection, Fred Ventura, Stock Aitken Waterman, Fancy, Pete Hammond, Matt Pop, Ian Kerno, everyone's, Mirko Hirsch of course, so all these names that I'm in love with, they're sharing my album, and I'm just so happy. And the great thing about this album, I've got to say, Energize Records, who I've been signed with since 2010, they have up until now released CD albums on CDR, but the fans have always said we want factory press CD, and not only are they doing this for the first time for my album, because I guess the demand's been great, which I am appreciating, thank you all. They've doubled the order, so that's really great.
Fantastic.
And so I'm really, really happy.
And can we have an exclusive at all for our Passion fans from a track that we could perhaps have a listen to, Peter? Which one would it be?
I would imagine it would be Diamond Eyes.
Diamond Eyes?
The Fancy track.
Coming at you right now. Diamond Eyes.
Diamond Eyes.
eyes are calling me. They're giving me a sign. I don't understand. It's such a misery, but it feels so good to me, to me. And now you've taken hold. You stole my heart and soul. Diamond eyes, the magic way you look at me. Every time steals my heart. Diamond eyes follow like lasers in the night. In the dark, in the dark.
You have taken hold so deep into my mind. Your eyes are calling me. They give me a sign.
Diamond eyes, the magic way you look at me. Every time steals my heart. Diamond eyes follow like lasers in the night. In the dark, in the dark.
Also here, I'm just having a look at ZYX, I used to call it, but now they pronounce it Zooks.
Zix.
Or Zix, Zooks.
Lindigo Rizzo corrected me, actually.
Did she really?
She said it's Zix.
Zix,
Yeah,
okay. Well, then
yeah.
I'm corrected too. Christina, thank you so much. We're going to give away one of these CDs. Now, actually, Peter's actually on this particular compilation.
I am.
So, well
Yes.
done.
What track
by the
is
way.
it? Thank you. I'm on a few of these.
Yes.
It's Lonely as the Night. Yeah, I've lost track.
Lost.
Because there's a few. Yeah, Lonely as the Night.
So, we're going to give this away.
If you should want me, well, here I am. had your love, but now you're gone. And all that I know is I was wrong. And now I'm standing alone. And you bring the light into my day. But how could I let you get away? And how can I get it through to you? If you should want me, oh here I am. I'm waiting for you to come back to my arms.
Is there anything else, Peter, that you want to mention at all that you want to bring up?
Yeah, I've got to say, it's become clear in the last couple of years that my Italo fans and my fans from Europe have really gotten on board, and I'm so appreciative of that. I mean, there's been the PWL fans up until now, and I'm a huge lover of both the Italo and the PWL sound.
And I must say I am too. I'm a huge Stock Aitken and Waterman, Italo, the whole lot. Yeah.
There was a demand quite some time ago, do more PWL, and it was getting to the point where I was like, well, I wanted to do the opposite. It was like I was rebelling, but this time with this album, I haven't enjoyed doing the PWL sound as much as I have, and it's equal enjoyment that I got from it that I did with the Italo thing. But digressing, back to the European fans, I've found that I've got a lot of Hungarian fans, and this is for you.
The Hungarian fans out there, hello!
Yes, a friend of mine bought this for my birthday, and I thought, what better time to wear it?
Absolutely. It's not an Italian flag.
It's
Sorry,
not.
for all the Italian flags out there.
Although
we love you. We love you all. I've got the Italian flag over here. That's okay.
Although this is Dolce & Gabbana tag, so we are representing Italy here.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, then the Hungarian fans didn't realise my blood's Hungarian. Both biological parents are Hungarian.
Oh,
so,
wow. Lovely.
Yeah.
We've got that European flavour. So
it's born. You can't just take it. It's born within you.
Well, look, we can obviously talk a lot more. If there's any other songs in the near future that you think may be coming out, influencing you, any Bobby O, Hi-NRG type of music, you think, Peter, is that your style?
I love Bobby O, and I did a cover of a Bobby O track quite a few years ago on my first album, Whisper to a Scream.
Yep.
And at the Flirts gig a few years ago, I remember a fan came up and said, I love what you did with the Bobby O track.
There you go.
I'm glad that he likes it. I don't think I sang it well enough, though. I'm quite hard on myself.
Yes.
But I remember that came about because we approached Bobby O to produce a track for me.
Yep.
Not within our price range. So, so we thought, well, okay, let's do a cover.
All right.
Yeah, so we did that instead.
Fantastic.
But maybe one day I'll do a Bobby O style track. Man, I think that I'd probably do that with Fred Ventura and Palo. I think. Yeah, with the drama section,
All right, well, let's push this new album for you.
Thank you. The Passion and the Flame is the
Passion
album.
of the Flame.
July the 6th. It's on
July 6th.
Digital platform, and also fully factory pressed double CD with CD2 remixes as well.
Hopefully I'll grab those links that I can put on the website as well.
www.energizerecords.com is where you can pre-order, and I believe you can pre-order from June 10th.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Peter, for coming in, spending a few minutes of your time.
And thank you all for your support. Thank you so much for
keeping
this music alive. We all are fans.
Let's keep it alive.
Keep it alive.
Catch you alive.
Bye.